The Houston Texans are one of those teams that they need some help. Here's the thing about the Texans. They for all the talent that they need help with, literally, if you guys go in the PFF mock draft simulator, it says draft needs every position. I still can't get over it. It's kind of funny. But they do need a lot of help. But the one thing that they always have going for them is they can really scout some quarterbacks. Obviously, Deshaun Watson in that situation, prayers for everyone involved in that. But Davis Mills, with the lack of weapons, with the lack of offensive line, with the lack of defense, with all that, actually played pretty respectively. Had over 2,000 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. They might have another franchise quarterback already. That's impressive. That just shows to me the amount of scouting and the amount of pride their department takes in their research. So yes, do they have some things they need to work on? Yes, but overall, if you can figure out the quarterback position, that's the hardest to figure out. So they got a good quarterback in Davis Mills, obviously a franchise one in Deshaun Watson. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that whole situation unfolds. Again, prayers for everyone involved in that situation, but. And I feel like moving forward, they've got some needs. They've got some things they need to take care of, and that's why we're here today talking about the Houston Texans' top 5 draft needs. So, there's a lot of different ways that we can go about this. And to me, the reason I shaped this the way I did is because I felt like you need to build. If you're going to go with Davis Mills is your starting quarterback, you need to build around him. So I think for draft need number 1, I think it's offensive line in terms of guard and interior line play, because I feel like if you're going to build around this guy, your tackles are somewhat respectable, and I think, and in guys specifically like Laramie Tunsil, I think he had above a 60.0 PFF grade. Marcus Cannon is also respectable. But, Lane Taylor, Justin McCray, Justin Britt, hey, to Justin and Justin, nice. Those guys, I wouldn't mind a what you would call an upgrade at those positions. I really wouldn't mind it. I think you really need to make sure you're building around Davis Mills, giving him the protection that he needs. And from what I had seen, it wasn't the worst. We've seen a lot of bad offensive lines in front of Deshaun Watson, but it can definitely get better. The offensive line needs to get better, and I think if you're going to build around a guy like Davis Mills, you need to improve the offensive line. Texans draft need number 2. I think it's corner. Now, I do think that there is a lot to build on with obviously they need a lot, but they have some pieces on defense. Jonathan Greenard had 8 sacks for this team last year. Nobody's talking about the former 3rd-round pick. Also, Justin Reed is one of the most underrated safeties in the entire NFL. But after those 2 players, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing upgrades at pretty much every position. You got guys on the edge like Jacob Martin, also on the inside guys like DeMarcus Walker. So I would really honestly like and hope to see a lot more talent on this defensive side of the football. And I think even at corner, Terrence Mitchell wasn't awful last year. I think even guys like Desmond King II. Again, if those are your 2 starting corners, I really feel like you need some upgrades. And I feel like, especially since it's a, get the passer, stop the passer, and defend against the passer type league, I think you really need to do what you can in order to be able to make sure that you are getting the best talent to defend against the passer and also protect your own passer and get him some weapons as well. So I think moving forward, the Texans need to really take a serious look at their corners. I think, they have the number 3 pick, so they'll probably have a shot at Kyle Hamilton. I wouldn't have a problem with that, or Derek Stingley Jr. or whatever. So, and it's also important to say these draft needs aren't necessarily where I see them drafting to start it out. I honestly wouldn't be opposed to them trading down from 3. If they could trade down from 3 to say 10 and get 2 extra 3rd-round draft picks, or possibly another 2nd, I would love it because, again, this team has a lot of needs. It needs, it's definitely in the rebuilding phase. You got a quarterback in place. Great. Now it's time to build around him. And obviously you'll see what happens with the Deshaun Watson situation. But, again, I feel like you are now in a place where, how about we rebuild from the top up? Let's at least, you got Brandon Cooks on the offensive side of the football, but your starting running back is Rex Burkhead. I don't need to say anything else. So, overall, there's a lot of things they need to do to improve this team, and I think it starts with the offensive line, and then you really need to make an investment into corner. And again, I wouldn't be opposed to them trading down. And I also feel like there is a lot of things that they need to worry about in terms of what they are going to do with the wide receiving core, and obviously we'll get into all that in a bit. But I mean, there's the corner position to me is actually really important, because it's one of those positions that when you've got good corners, you're like, okay, you don't even think about it. But when you got bad corners, it's like one of the most things you notice. It's like, yeah, okay, we need to get a lot of better guys out there. Like this is rough. And so when you can get good corners and you have good corners, it really helps out your team. It really elevates your team. Texans draft need number 3, edge. Now, again, Greenard had 8 sacks last year, but that doesn't mean anything to me. Like, they had the rest of their guys really. I think they really need to bring some defensive pieces around this team. Like, I would not mind if this team went out and got, traded down guys like, there's even a lot like George Karlaftis. If they could trade down and get, George Karlaftis, or maybe use up some of their draft capital, which isn't a lot from what I had seen, but I mean, maybe they could trade, the farm, I guess, for guys like, Kyle Hamilton, and a guy like George Karlaftis, the Greek, the Greek freak. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. I feel like, though, that doesn't matter. I would not be opposed to them trading down, because they really need to make sure that they are getting as much talent as they can in this draft, because this needs to be a quick turnaround. If you are Levi Smith, I don't know what's wrong with me today. I think, if it needs to be a quick turnaround, and I think, edge is definitely a very big piece to this, and there's a lot of really good edge defenders in this draft, so I really think it'll be interesting. Texans draft need number 4, wide receiver. Now, you have Brandon Cooks, and I think, honestly, he might be a really good trade ammo, to be honest with you. I feel like he's one of those players that, no matter where he goes, nobody really takes this into consideration, but the man, he has 1,000-yard receiving years. He's had like 6 or 7 in the past 8 years or something like that. It's crazy. So he's respectable. He's a number 1 wide receiver. The question after that is, okay, if you trade him away, who do you get? And what do you get? I think you can get a second-round pick for Brandon Cooks. I really do, because he's still got a lot of tread left on the tires. I think he's still going to be a really good player for whoever he could potentially go to, or for the Texans in the long run. So overall, the question becomes, what can you get for him if you do trade him? But if you don't trade him, you keep him in. You got a number 1 wide receiver, but you still, after that, who else? Like, that's it. Like, you have... like I said, you've got Brandon Cooks, but after that, you've got guys like Chris Conley, Nico Collins, who actually is a pretty respectable player, but Danny Amendola, who's kind of on the back end of his career in a way. So Philip Dorsett, Davion Davis, all those boys. So not really anybody else that's a number 2. I feel like they really need to make sure that they go out and get a number 2, a guy that can get just as many targets as Brandon Cooks, and can be just as dangerous as Brandon Cooks. So especially if you got the offensive line figured out, if you got that all taken care of, Velus Jones Jr., man, he just ran a 4.3 the other day. I would not. I've had a high draft grade on him for a while, or not a high, but I've had a really big draft crush on him for a while. I think you can get him in the 4th to 6th round, and I think he could really do a lot for your team. Texans draft need number 5, running back. Listen, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but with a Rex Burkhead as your starting running back, that tells you something. Like, he's a good player, don't get me wrong, but for a player that is not, in my mind, he's not the best at his position. He's a really good stopgap player, a really good backup, but the Texans need to get some help here. I feel like moving forward, they really need to take a serious look at this position, because you can get good running backs in the 4th to like 7th rounds. We saw it. Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots last year. Elijah Mitchell for the 49ers. Like, there is good running backs. And again, I've said this from the beginning. I feel like the running back position has really taken a nosedive in terms of value. You don't have to get a guy like Adrian Peterson 7th overall anymore. You can wait until the 3rd or 4th round. Dalvin Cook was a 2nd-round draft pick, so you don't need to waste. I shouldn't say waste. You don't need to use a 1st-round draft pick on a running back anymore. Like, you can get guys after the 3rd round that will be just as good for you. I mean, Kenny Nwangu for the Vikings, wasn't he like I want to say a 5th-round draft pick or 6th round? So again, you can find these good running backs in the later rounds. I think I've seen, James Cook. I've seen him go in the 6th and 7th round. He would be a really good addition. It was Tyler Beatty out of Missouri. I think you could see him going after the 4th round as well. So there's a lot of really good players in this draft that I feel like you could take advantage of. And like I said, draft in the later rounds in terms of running back that could help out your team in a major way. And I think moving forward, I think that's, building the offense, building the defense. This really needs to be a huge thing, especially if you're going to build behind Davis Mills or Deshaun Watson. We'll see what happens. But that's it. Those are our top 5 Houston Texans draft needs. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the rest of this team and everything plays out. But I love a guy like Lovie Smith, no pun intended. I think he's going to really lead this team in a positive direction. And I think he's really, honestly, a really good coach. So it'll be interesting to see. And I feel like they've got a lot of work to do in this draft and plus the free agency period. So we'll see how it all unfolds. But let us know what you guys think. And make sure you guys like and subscribe down below. Leave a like and a comment. It helps people find the show. We greatly appreciate all the support that we've gotten and continue to get. You guys are all truthfully awesome. And we love every single one of you. In the description down below, you'll find all of our social media platforms. So give us a like and a follow there. Also in the description, you'll find our link to our iTunes. So give us a listen and sub there. But if you have anything else you'd like us to cover, send us an email at thesportsbp@yahoo.com or put in the comment section down below and we would love to cover it. But let us know what you guys think about our top 5 Houston Texans draft needs.